I worked 2 jobs to afford my stepson's college, then read his graduation speech, thanks to my real dad, who was actually there for me. My wife laughed loudest. I walked out mid-ceremony. 3 months later, he was sleeping in his car, begging me for help. I didn't wait for the applause to stop. I stood up in the middle of the crowd, walked out of the gymnasium, and let the auditorium doors slam shut behind me. My phone was still in my pocket. Wallet too. But I left the keys in my wife's purse right next to her smug, shaking shoulders. She was laughing the hardest. I wasn't angry. That came later. Right then, I just wanted air. Let me back up. 3 years ago, I started working weekends at a warehouse. Not because I had to, we were doing okay, all things considered, but because my stepson, Ethan, had his sights on a private university halfway across the country. Tuition was steep. Scholarships only covered so much. His biological father? Ghosted years ago. The same man who skipped child support, missed birthdays, never showed up for visitations unless it was court-ordered. So I picked up shifts. Gave up poker nights. Skipped family barbecues. I got plantar fasciitis in both heels. My back hasn't been the same since last fall when I slipped hauling a pallet of dog food at 3 a.m. Also, he wouldn't have to worry. I didn't want thanks. I wasn't looking for hero points. I just wanted him to feel secure, something I never had growing up. Ethan was never easy. Smart kid, sure. But cold. Distant. Never called me dad, and I never pushed. I figured time would do the work. Love layered in enough routine can look like biology if you're patient. We had routines. I drove him to school. Helped with FAFSA forms. Waited in the car outside someone's apartment in sophomore year, no questions asked. We had this thing Friday morning McDonald's runs before big tests. He always got a sausage McMuffin, hash browns, OJ. He never said thanks. But he never complained either. My wife said he just had a quiet love language. I believed her. His graduation came fast. Senior year was a blur, prom, finals, AP exams. I didn't mind the late-night grocery runs for poster board or the last-minute suit fitting he forgot to mention until the day before. He was becoming something. That's what I told myself. Then came graduation night. I bought him a Rolex. Not a flashy one, just a sturdy, elegant piece. Something to mark the transition. I had it engraved. Proud of you. M. He didn't open it. He walked up to that stage, shook the principal's hand, and took the mic to give the valedictorian speech. His voice was steady. Too steady. Like he'd rehearsed it for someone else. And then, mid-speech, he said it. I want to thank the man who showed me what it means to be there. To stand tall, to lead by example, to give without expecting. I smiled. For half a second. Then he said, my real dad. The one who was actually there for me. The gymnasium laughed. Not at the line. At my reaction, probably. I don't know. But my wife? She clapped. She clapped and laughed like it was a sitcom moment. Like I was just some extra in a feel-good Hallmark arc. I stood. Walked out. Didn't look back. 3 months passed. I didn't talk to either of them. Moved into the basement. Told my wife I needed space to sort out some work stuff. She didn't ask. 2 months after that, she told me Ethan had dropped out of college. Depression, she said. Too much pressure. Not enough support. You've always been the stable one, she added, twisting the knife like she didn't know where it had landed. I gave her the silence she earned. Now here we are. Last night, I came home from a shift and saw him. In the driveway. Sleeping in the back seat of a rusted Honda Civic. Hoodie zipped to his chin, windows fogged. The same kid who once said I was just some guy who married his mom. The same one who looked right through me every Christmas. I knocked on the glass. He didn't flinch. I walked back inside. Sat at the kitchen table. Watched the ceiling spin. At 4 a.m. I left a bottle of water and a blanket on the porch. No note. At 6:30 he knocked. Can I come in? He asked, voice hoarse. I didn't answer. I just opened the door and walked past him. That's where we are. And I haven't decided what to do next. But I can tell you this. It's not going to be forgiveness. Update 1. He didn't leave. That night, after I walked past him, he stood in the doorway for nearly 5 minutes. Just standing there, holding the blanket I'd left like it was some ancient artifact. He didn't cry. He didn't plead. He just waited. I went down to the basement. Closed the door. Locked it. Not because I thought he'd come down, but because I knew he wouldn't. In the morning, I found him asleep on the couch. He must have come in after I left for work. My wife never changed the locks. Probably told him to make himself comfortable. Same couch I used to sleep on when I pulled doubles and didn't want to wake her up. The same one we picked out together at that overpriced furniture store after our tax refund hit. He was curled up like a child. Shoes still on. Crumbs on the coffee table. I stood there for a long time. Just watching. You know what I felt? Nothing. Not pity. Not rage. Not even bitterness. It's like my emotional supply chain cut ties the day he gave that speech. I left without a word. Came back 10 hours later. He was still there. Said he was looking for jobs. That his phone died. Asked if he could use mine, just real quick, to call someone about a warehouse position. I said no. My wife looked at me like I pissed on his shoes. He's trying, she said. I looked at her and thought about the way she clapped. The way she laughed. Let him try somewhere else, I said. This isn't a halfway house. He didn't leave. The next morning, there was a printed resume on the kitchen counter. No cover letter. Just name, email, high school education. No mention of college. No work history. My wife made a big deal of putting it in a manila envelope like she was sending off a law school application. He's getting back on track, she whispered like I was supposed to be proud. I went back to the basement, took the lock off the door, left it open. 2 nights later, I came home and found my shaving kit scattered across the bathroom counter upstairs. He'd used my razor, left it wet, didn't even rinse the hair out of the sink. I stared at that sink for a full minute, then went back to the basement, shaved with a disposable. That night, I turned off the water heater at the breaker. Wife thought it was a fuse, asked me to check it. I said if he wants to use my razor, he can shower cold. Didn't fix it for 3 days. He said nothing. Just started showering at the 24-hour gym down the street. Used to be on my membership. I'd forgotten to remove him. I did that the next day. This morning, I came upstairs to find him sitting at the dining table in one of my old work shirts. He didn't ask. Just said, hope it's okay. I didn't answer. Just stared. Because on the table next to him was the watch. The Rolex I gave him. Engraving facing up. The box half open like a wound. I didn't ask why it was there. Didn't ask what he wanted. I walked past him, poured coffee, sat across the room, and stared at the wall. My wife came in 10 minutes later and pretended not to notice the silence. Said something about trying a new chicken recipe. Ethan stood. Mumbled something about heading to the library. Grabbed the watch and left. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't have to. I heard the front door click shut. Then something weird happened. I went to the table to grab my mug. And there, tucked under it like a coaster, was the envelope I used to give him money in high school. Same one I'd put a 20 in every week for gas and snacks. Inside? A receipt. From a pawn shop. I flipped it over. Written in blue pen, all caps. This was never your role to play. I haven't told my wife. Not yet. But I will. Because something broke in that boy. And I think I might be the one who taught him how. Update 2. My wife found the receipt. I'd left it in the junk drawer. I don't know if that was an accident or not. She was looking for batteries and came downstairs holding it like it was evidence in a trial she didn't remember agreeing to. You knew, she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. Sipped my coffee. She stared at me for a while, long enough to think she might cry. She didn't. What are you doing to him? Still not a question. More like an accusation with no supporting evidence. I waited until the silence got uncomfortable. Then said, something he's old enough to understand now. That shut her up. But only for a minute. You've made your point, she snapped. You walked out of the ceremony. You've iced him out for months. Fine. But he's hurting. You can't just keep whatever this is going. I wanted to ask her if she laughed before or after he said the line. Instead, I asked, is he working? Her lips twitched. He's trying. He applied to it. No, I interrupted. Is he working? More silence. I stood, rinsed my mug, walked upstairs. The conversation was over. The next morning, I woke up to a knock on the basement door. Not the bedroom door. The basement door. I opened it. He was standing there, hoodie on, eyes red like he'd been rubbing them too hard. Do you still have that contact at the warehouse? He asked. My stomach turned. Not because of what he asked, but because of how he asked. Like a kid asking his teacher for extra credit after skipping the exam and spitting on the desk. I stared at him for a long time. Then said, sure, but it's not a soft job. I don't care. You'll be lifting 60-pound bags of cement mix for 10 hours. I don't care. You'll clock in at 3:45 a.m. sharp. You late once, you're done. He nodded. I gave him the number. He started 2 days later. And I did something petty. I made his lunch. Peanut butter and jelly. No crust. Same way I used to make it when he was 12 and too proud to pack his own. Wrote Ethan in Sharpie across the brown bag. Big letters. Childish print. Put a juice box inside. He didn't say a word. Just took it. Walked out the door. Came back that night with blisters on his hands. I asked how it went. He looked me in the eye and said, it's fine. Not good. Not bad. Just fine. I think that scared me more than a breakdown would have. I started keeping a list. Every chore he avoided. Every passive-aggressive sigh when my wife asked him to take the trash out. Every time he forgot to buy more toilet paper after using the last roll. I wrote it all down. Not to confront him. Just to see if the math added up. 2 weeks in, I left the list on the fridge. He didn't comment. Just started buying toilet paper. Progress? Maybe. Then last night, I heard them fighting. My wife and Ethan. I was on the porch, fixing the motion sensor light she kept saying was possessed. The voices came through the screen door like they were mic'd. I'm trying, he snapped. I didn't ask him to do all that stuff back then. I didn't ask him to work 2 jobs or pay for college or... You thanked your real dad, she snapped back. On stage. In front of everyone. He is my real dad, he shouted. That was the point. Silence. Then quieter. He's the only one who stuck around. My fingers clenched the screwdriver tighter. She said something back, I didn't catch it. Too soft. Probably crying. I didn't go in. I just kept fixing the damn light. This morning Ethan was gone. Not gone. Just gone before sunrise. Lunch bag still on the counter. Wallet missing. No note. I found the juice box in the sink. Empty. Clean. Rinsed and placed carefully. The sharpened name still visible. Tonight I asked my wife where he was. She said he stayed late for an extra shift. Then added. He asked if you ever wanted to talk. I didn't respond. But she pressed. He said he'd understand if you never forgave him. But he wants to try. I didn't even look at her when I said it. Tell him to show up on time tomorrow. She waited. Then said, that's it. I finally looked at her. That's the first test. If he fails it, there won't be a second. She walked away. I sat there staring at the empty lunch bag like it might sprout legs and run. I don't hate the boy. That's the problem. Anger would be easier. What I feel is more precise. It's a dull, persistent disappointment. The kind you can't scream out or drink away. The kind that just lives in you like mold behind drywall. Tomorrow morning I'll make the sandwich again. Same bag. Same juice box. But this time, I'll staple the bag shut. Let's see if he tears it open like a kid. Let's see if he pretends not to notice. Let's see if this becomes the new routine. Let's see if we both pretend. Because that's what this house is built on now. Pretend hard enough and maybe one day it'll feel like love again. But I doubt it. Update 3. He opened the lunch bag with scissors. Didn't tear it. Didn't make a comment. Just sat on the porch that morning in his work boots and hoodie, cutting neatly along the top seam like it was a specimen. I watched from the kitchen window. He took out the sandwich, the juice box, the bag of chips. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a Sharpie. Wrote his name in the exact same lettering I used. Then circled it. Twice. I didn't ask. He didn't explain. That night, my wife said he got Employee of the Week. 2 weeks in. Warehouse manager said he was a machine. Showed up early, stayed late, didn't complain. He's trying, she said again. I just nodded. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I went into the kitchen to make a sandwich. Not for him. For me. The crust kind. I noticed something odd. The receipt. The one from the pawn shop. It was gone from the junk drawer. I checked the trash. Nothing. Checked my sock drawer. Nothing. Then I checked the old cigar box in the garage, the one where I used to keep little mementos. My dad's dog tags. A movie stub from our first date. That letter Ethan wrote in 6th grade about how my stepdad fixes things. It was there. The receipt. But not folded like I left it. Opened. Flattened. Pressed between 2 paper towels like it had been dried out. Someone had taken it. Read it. Then put it back. My throat went dry. He'd been in the garage. In my things. In my past. That's when I remembered something worse. The envelope. The one from the watch. I ran upstairs. Checked the back of my closet. I keep a fireproof box there. Nothing dramatic. Just the kind of stuff you forget until it becomes meaningful. Divorce papers from my first marriage, old letters, photos. And one sealed envelope. Inside? A copy of a letter I never mailed. Addressed to Ethan. Dated the night after graduation. For pages. All of it ugly. Not rage. Not insults. Just truth. Truth about what I gave up. Truth about what I felt when he said real dad. Truth about how I almost left for good that night. I never mailed it. Never even showed my wife. But it was there. And now? Opened. Not completely, but the seal had been loosened. The crease torn just enough to peek. He read it. Or at least part of it. I put it back. Went downstairs. He was in the living room, headphones in, playing something on his phone. I stood in the hallway for almost a full minute. Then I said, "You been in the garage?" He paused. Looked up. Neutral face. Yeah. Needed pliers. The sink upstairs is loose. I nodded. Next time ask. He nodded back. Sorry. I didn't ask about the letter. Neither did he. But that night when I took the trash out, I found the envelope in the bin. Burned. Half melted. Ashed around the edges. Not like he wanted to destroy it. More like he wanted me to see he tried. I didn't take it out. Didn't keep it. Just stared at it until the porch light buzzed off. The next morning, the sandwich was untouched. Still in the bag. Still stapled shut. But written across the top in blue pen, same all caps block as before. Maybe this was never my role to play either. He didn't go to work. Didn't come home. Wife panicked. Called his phone. No answer. I said nothing. An hour later I got a text. Just a photo. Of the Rolex. Buried in a pile of gravel at the warehouse construction site. Cracked face. Covered in dirt. Caption said, "I won't try again." My wife cried. I made coffee. And sat there thinking. If he wanted forgiveness, that wasn't the way. If he wanted punishment, that wasn't enough. But if he wanted me to feel something? He was getting closer. And that scared me more than anything. Final update. He came back. 3 days after the text. No warning. No apology. Just the sound of keys in the door while my wife and I were eating dinner. We both froze mid-bite. I thought she might run to him. She didn't. She just whispered, "Oh, thank God," and stood too slowly like she wasn't sure what to do. I didn't stand. He walked in, hoodie half-zipped, hands stuffed in the pocket. Hair greasy. Eyes bloodshot. Looked like he hadn't slept. He didn't say hi. Just walked straight past us, into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and stared. Then he said, quiet but clear, we should talk. I didn't look up. Just took another bite of mashed potatoes. My wife broke the silence first. Let's give you two some space. She disappeared upstairs like a ghost that knew when to vanish. He sat across from me. Not like a son. Like a client. Like a man with a settlement offer. I read the letter, he said. Still calm. I read the whole thing. I wasn't supposed to. I know. But I needed to understand. I said nothing. You said I made you feel small. Like everything you gave meant nothing. Like I erased you. Still nothing. You said if you'd known how it would end, you wouldn't have stayed. You said loving me was like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. He paused. I didn't know that's how you felt. I finally looked at him. Not because I cared what he said, but because I wanted him to see the expression I'd been practicing in the mirror. Total stillness. I didn't write that for you, I said. He blinked. I know. I didn't leave it out. I know. Then what are you hoping for? He swallowed. Closure. I laughed. Actually laughed. And then, before he could speak again, I reached into my jacket pocket and slid something across the table. He looked down. His old test from 10th grade. The one he cheated on. I found the answer key in the printer tray back then and never said anything. Marked in red now. Circled answers. Stapled to it was a printout of the answer sheet he'd copied from. He stared at it like I'd dropped something rotten on the table. Why do you have this? Because I've been keeping score longer than you realize. His face changed. Confused. Then defensive. Then something else, something cold. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a crumpled sheet of paper. Dropped it in front of me. It was a printout of my first divorce filing. The one I told my wife I never finalized before I met her. He looked it up. Found the case number. Scribbled my signature over a sticky note dated 2 months into your marriage. Touché. We sat there, quiet again. Like two men in a chess game neither of us wanted to win. Then he said it. I never wanted to replace him. I just didn't want to be reminded that you weren't him. I nodded. And I never wanted to be reminded that you weren't mine. He flinched. Finally. A crack. He stood. Pushed the chair back too hard. Started walking toward the door. Then stopped. Looked at me. I saw what you did to the sandwich, he said. What? You started using different bread. Not the one I like. On purpose. I stared. You think I didn't notice? You used rye. You know I hate rye. That's what broke him. Not the pawn shop. Not the burned letter. Not the watch. The bread. He shook his head like trying to clear something out. Then he said, I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not going to lose to you. I stood up. Walked past him. Opened the door. You already did, I said. He left. Didn't slam it. Just pulled it shut with that quiet, terrifying grace kids get when they finally understand the rules are rigged. I didn't tell my wife what we talked about, but I know she feels it. The next morning, the porch was empty. No sandwich bag. No footsteps in the frost. But there was something else. On the hood of my truck under the windshield wiper. The Rolex. Polished. Fixed. Running. Strapped around a banana peel. With a note. Some things were never gifts. Just time bombs. I left it there. Let the frost take it. Didn't touch it. Didn't bring it inside. Just stared at it every morning for a week until the battery died again. It's still out there now. Rotting. Like the last word in a fight no one's willing to end. Because maybe that's what we are now. Not father and son. Not enemies. Just two men in a house that only echoes. Each waiting for the other to leave first. Each pretending it isn't already over. And the worst part? I don't know who's winning. Or if it matters. Because the Rolex still ticks in my dreams. Even when I know it's dead. Even when I want it to be.